Hey everyone, and welcome to the Headliner Podcast. We're your hosts, Nicholas and Elissa, and we're here to keep you in the loop on all the things you can do to promote your podcast. So, Elissa, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, Nicholas, I think that we should talk about how to make a podcast clip and more specifically, what makes a good podcast clip.
Okay, that's interesting. We always kind of tell people that they should promote their podcast with clips because that's what we do. That's like our whole shtick, right? And it sounds like we should just take some time to do that because there are so many ways you can do it. And sometimes you just need to like hear them, Sometimes you need that reminder that you don't just need to promote your show in one way, but you can do all these other neat things. So, okay. I am so excited for this because this is something that I've thought about a lot over the years. As a person with his own podcast and a person who listens to podcasts, sometimes I'll listen to them and I'll be like, oh, this is going to be a clip on social media someday.
I feel like now, especially like some people are kind of building it in for their content. It like you can kind of tell like ahead of time, especially like, we weirdly, that's like a lot of our job, right? Is helping people find these clips and figuring out what makes a good clip. So yeah, you definitely listen along and be like, whoa, that'd be good.
Yeah, that'll be a good segment. It's a really cool thing too, because like I'll listen to the example I think I've used before is like the WAN show, Linus Tech Tips podcast.
Mhm.
And they break out their segments into YouTube videos. But when I'm watching the podcast on Fridays, like as it's happening live, I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, this video is going to do really well when they, break it out in a week as a clip, or this is going to do poorly. So I think poorly isn't the right word.
Conversely,
This is going to do not as well.
I was going to say they have like
Yeah.
millions of subscribers.
Yeah, no, they're doing great. I watched a video where they like broke down their revenue streams and I'm like, wow, this is so thorough. I love this. Um,
Yeah.
But so I thought, it might be helpful for us to do that. Just break down, the types of videos you can make, things you can do to update your presentation, and also just things on like the meta side, not Facebook, the meta, where it's like, hey, this is what you can do to make your clips hopefully perform better in the algorithm, stuff like that. So, right off the bat, let's talk about the content. As far as like podcast clips go, the rule of thumb that I've always stuck to and that I think works the best for the most people is keeping them as short and sweet as you can. Just getting to like the real meat and potatoes of your clip, what it's about, and doing what you can to position that first and foremost. Uh, most social media is short form content. So as far as like video lengths go, I'm sure you have a number that might be better than what I'm about to say, but just I always say, hey, if it's going to be a 10-second long clip from your podcast, make it a 10-second long clip. But maybe don't shoot for over a minute. That's kind of like the far reaches of what a podcast promotion clip should be.
Yeah. And I mean, for that, it really kind of depends on your goals too. Like if you're trying to kind of increase your like algorithmic discoverability, so more like organic performance, yeah, having the shorter clips is going to be better solely because you have technically better watch time percentage. Like if somebody watches 2 seconds of a 10-second clip, okay, that's 20% versus if they watch 2 seconds of a minute clip, 2/60, 30, 1/3. No, that's not even close to being right.
It's a math.
I'm trying to
It's
do
a
it in
math
my
thing.
head.
Don't
It's
worry, it's
less
fine.
than 20% by a lot. Anyways,
Don't even sweat it. But
anyways, that's
we
a
get the
lot.
point.
But yeah,
See, this is
uh,
why longer clips aren't always more effective because the math is harder to
exactly.
do, guys.
Exactly. Or you just embarrass yourself more in the longer clips.
This is
Anyways,
clippable content. Don't even sweat it. So,
anyways, it does kind of depend more on your goals for how long you're wanting those clips to be. But yes,
yeah.
typically you're seeing shorter, like 15-second or less clips are going to perform better because they have better watch time, which leads to higher engagement, more shareability, all that stuff. So especially if you're trying to build, definitely start small and then like increase the clip length as your audience grows.
Yeah, and also to the whole point of like the individual level. Well, first off, if you want to start small and build, that's an amazing way to look at it. It is less work to make a shorter clip. So, hey, that's like actually a plus. But no, like on a personal level, it also makes sense. If I watch a 10-second clip of something and I don't entirely know what happens, I might stick around for the full 10 seconds because it's 10 seconds. But once we
Hmm.
get to like 30 seconds, I might click out at 15 seconds or 20 seconds. If it's a minute, it's, even less time possibly. So,
Hmm.
keep it as short and direct as possible. And as for what you want to select in your clips, it's just going for the most kind of tantalizing, interesting bit you can find. And this is going to change depending on the type of podcast you have, but something that might work well for some shows, especially like comedy shows, D&D podcasts, interviews, is the banter, you know? And this is something you can spot in social media as a whole now, is these very like off the cuff, spontaneous moments just doing exceptionally well because they're very human. The thing I see a lot, maybe it's because I get a lot of like stand-up comedian videos on my TikTok, but the thing I get is crowd work now. It's literally like comedians just like talking to a heckler or someone in the crowd.
Yeah.
And stuff like that's really great at reeling a viewer in because it emphasizes the fact that you're a human being. It emphasizes the fact that you have this personable, way about yourself. A personality would be a good way to put it. And, the internet is all about that. We don't follow institutions on social media. I mean, we do, but like we follow people, you know? More than ever, we follow this person because we like what they have to say about things, but we also like them as a person. And it's just doing your banter clips are a great way to do that. And the more organizational side of things, or the more, I don't know what the word would be there, but on another side of things, you can look at like more current events related clips. If you're doing a news podcast, maybe talking about like breaking news in your podcast clip will do better than like this ongoing story with all this context that people need to know already. Although you could do that too. That'll probably be good for retention. It'll probably perform better because it's what's happening at the moment. It's SEO friendly. And on top of that, it doesn't even have to be just for like your news podcasts or your film review podcast or whatever that talks about like current releases. Even if you have like a D&D podcast, maybe you guys break character every so often to talk about something, you know? You could literally do like a 1 minute clip. Let's say you have a D&D podcast and there's a huge cross section of people who play video games with D&D players. I imagine you could like easily use a clip from your latest episode where maybe your character is making fun of like Nintendo delaying the Switch 2's pre-orders because of the tariffs. And that's like highly relevant content that the algorithm will pick up on. Your audience will probably find it a little charming because they can relate to it. And there you go. You just got yourself some retention. What else? Other types of podcast clips. This is going more toward like more data driven, kind of institutional stuff. Just spitting the facts. If you're a person who does like a lot of research in your episodes, just sharing the fact that you did your research, establishing yourself as an authority on something, really great stuff. And the shorter you can do that and the faster you can do it, the better. And then last, which I think is like, this is the one that I personally want to see more of. I want to see more originals. That's just what I'm going to call them, where it isn't necessarily a clip from your podcast, but it is promoting your podcast. You're just,
Like doing it separate from the podcast recording.
yeah, like even if it's as
Okay.
simple as you, after you've recorded your episode, looking at the camera and being like, hey, I just did a podcast with Elissa from Headliner. Go check it. Like something as simple as that, or it can be as complicated as I'm going to do a TikTok trend, but tie it into my podcast somehow.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
that makes a lot of sense. I know some people too are like like my first example is the Better Call Daddy show. That host, I mean, they have a whole production team that's dedicated to making social content. So this is probably, a little bit different for her specific strategy, but you could still kind of apply it to your own strategy and thinking about how she does it. So they'll have a lot of like outtake recording type stuff. So before they actually start the podcast, she'll do like these rapid fire questions that might not necessarily always make it to the podcast. So if you're scrolling on social media, you'll see like these clips and you're like, that's like perfect, like create social content, but it's not always in the podcast. So stuff that either gets edited out or even just like you record it at the time, like Nicholas is saying, like original, not related to your broadcast recording, but like related to the show itself,
Yeah.
is definitely great for like that social content.
And like, look, even if there is some crossover, like even if that person answers the question and then they give like a 10-minute version of that answer later in the episode, that's fine. We want the short version for social media because that's where it's going to do well, you know? And I've used this analogy before. Elissa, you can roll your eyes if you need to, but like I always look at like podcast clips as being like the single for an album where it's like sometimes it's a little truncated. It's not the full song that you hear when you buy the vinyl record, but like it's okay. It was made for radio where people are just kind of like, you know, flipping stations and stuff like that. And this is what it's going to do. It's going to fulfill a very specific purpose. So, kind of viewing your podcast clips as that it's taking that one nugget that makes your podcast special and just, shows it to people. And like there's some stuff on like the production side that you can do, but we'll get to that in a second. I think the point here is there are a bunch of different types of clips that you can use and just experimenting, adapting, trying at least one or two of these, seeing how they do, trying another one, maybe combining some of them, You could easily do like the banter thing I mentioned earlier and combine that with what Elissa just described when it comes to like what's the podcast called?
It's Call Her Daddy, I
Call Her
think.
Daddy. I think so,
I
right?
gotta Google it. I feel like that's right. I feel like I hear it all the time.
It sounds familiar. I
Yes.
just don't listen to the show, so I don't
I
know.
don't either. I
Yeah.
just like obviously being in podcasting, you hear about the ones that like are the top of the charts or so, and that one continues to rank. So
Okay.
that's more
So
why I'm like, okay,
so
I'm
it is Call
familiar
Her
with it.
Daddy.
Yes,
Okay. Cool. In the future, whenever I don't know what a podcast is, I'll just cover my mouth so that I can dub it in later.
exactly.
Anyway,
You can never be wrong.
I can never be. I actually did that on a podcast over the holidays where I mispronounced someone's name. And then at the end of the episode, I said it right and was like, see, I didn't mispronounce it. And then when I was editing, I just went in and dubbed it. So I never mispronounced it
Well,
because
editing.
I am
We love
petty.
to edit. Not
Yes.
that we edit ours, but
No,
like
exactly. Well, speaking of editing, so back to podcast clips. I was talking about the single for an album, right? And one of the things that I don't know how many people do this, but I think if you have the means and you have the time and you feel like it'll add a lot to your episode, you should do it, is when you have something that feels really good. Like this is a really interesting piece of content. People are going to react to this, but it's a minute long. Even if you have that full minute in your episode, don't be afraid to maybe chop it down a little bit just for the clip, you know? Make a little radio edit, if you will, and just go ahead, take out the ums and ahs. Maybe if you're like me, I go off on tangents a lot. I'm sure people have noticed, but like maybe take the tangent out. That's all.
not the tangents.
The tangents are what I live for, but like on social media, the tangents are very much not it.
Yeah. They definitely kind of, I mean, they don't take away from the value of your show, but it's the core message. It's like the fluff. Like you want to just take out the randomness in a sentence sometimes. Because you
Exactly.
have like, 10 seconds or something, like us being like da 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 da, edit your clip. The da 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 da. Not very helpful, right?
Yeah, exactly. Take out all of the Peanuts parents talk where they're just like, wah, wah.
Better
But
way to phrase
yeah,
it for sure.
that's where my mind went. It's because I have a Snoopy mug in front of me.
Uh,
But no, it's exactly that. It's taking out the pauses, which in a hour-long discussion are perfect and natural and human, and leave them in your full episode, please. But like on TikTok, where everything is like rapid fire and you're going up against like slime videos and Family Guy clips, maybe
highly
just
produced stuff.
highly produced. Look, split screens are difficult. Okay. But maybe don't. Maybe just take the pauses out, and just put your best foot forward. It doesn't have to be in the episode. Seriously, You're just matching the pace of social media so that your video will compete on social media. And to that end, there is this point, like I have this new fun saying that I swear one of these days I'll have printed on a cap and I'll just wear it. But like it's this idea that good enough is great. So like by all means go the extra mile. Produce your podcast clips, make graphics, cut the fluff. Don't worry about it that much though. Just we really want you to get to a point where your clip is good enough because of the way social media works. You're going to post it and engagement will eventually tamper off on it, because there's so much stuff getting posted. So get to good enough and you're great. That's good. Pat yourself on the back. Purchase my good enough is great hat if I end up making it.
Link
Etc.
in bio.
Yeah, link in bio, exactly. Um, Always record yourself saying link in bio just in case you need it. No, I'm kidding.
No, but I mean that's so true. And to anybody that's ever, had the uh privilege of using TikTok and creating TikTok videos, you
Mhm.
probably noticed like something that you're like, I spent an hour or hours on a TikTok clip. We've all done it. And you post it and you're like, your eye twitches because you're like 12 views. Okay, I really thought that'd do better. And then you have like I like literally I'll be like, okay, I don't know. And I'll just like click it. And I'm like, sure, 20 seconds. That seems right. And like just listen to it, post it. I'm like, cool, that was a minute of effort. And it'll get like thousands of views. And I'm like, okay, what?
Precisely.
What?
That
It
also
hurts.
speaks to like, look, sometimes you want a little imperfection in the stuff you make. It's human. It's
Yeah,
quaint.
I mean that's you've said it like 1,000 times so far. Like it's about the human connection. Like social media was made to connect with other people, right?
It was made to
So if you're
socialize,
like,
dare I say. Just
oh my gosh, revolutionary stuff here on the Headliner
hashtag fake
Podcast today,
deep.
folks.
Yeah.
But
But
anyways, yes. So having like the human elements of everything and the emotions with it are of course important. But regards to editing, like maybe we make it slightly more polished and just taking out some of the weird pauses or if you're stumbling. Unless you're trying to make something that is like, are they okay? Like what's going on with these people? Then by all
un-
means leave it in.
unless you really are aiming for like a podcast clip that is just a supercut of people saying and ah and staring at each
Yeah.
other in silence,
Yeah.
which, hey,
If you're trying to be goofy, be
if you're trying to
goofy.
be
Commit to
performance
it.
art, yeah. And then on that note, we're kind of starting to transition into like the second part of promoting your clip, which is the presentation of it, right? Like editing stuff down was sort of already that, but we're talking more like graphics, captions, all the stuff you can add to your clip just to make sure that people stick around. And this is another one of those lesser more things because what you really have to do is you just have to make sure that things look harmonious. You don't have text on top of text in your video, or you don't have weird jump cuts, stuff like that. Unless, again, it's like a stylistic choice. So that's pretty easy. It's kind of self explanatory. If you're using a normal audiogram and you're not like showing a video clip from your podcast, that is making sure that your text is readable. If you have a purple background, maybe don't have blue text on top of the purple background. Use like a complementary color wheel and find something that works great. Something that I learned, this is like a design hack or like a superstition among designers. Unless you have a colored background, avoid white text because it will not stand out that much. You know, just little things like that, making sure to put a CTA on screen if you can. It's by all means say your call to action, but the human brain, if you leave a little Apple Podcast logo in the corner of your video, guess what? They're going to read that like 3 or 4 times while they watch your videos, you know? So, the little things like that and just not going too crazy about it.
Yeah, or even just putting in like your own like branded watermark or something like that. Like being consistent with your visuals. This guy named Chris Stone, he publishes a lot on podcasting. Go figure, we're in that industry, right? But anyways, he has a really awesome newsletter. Uh, and he kind of brought forward this idea of recognition algorithm. So, and it's not necessarily even like based in a computer or anything. It's based in our minds. Like it's this whole thing of like you're scrolling, you're kind of maybe looking for now stuff that's been familiar. The more you've been on a platform and you see something once or twice, you're like, oh, I kind of like that. Having those visual things like the watermarks or using the same caption styles, just something that looks very similar to what you have done in the past helps kind of more embed yourself in people's like own internal algorithm.
Sure.
Um,
Sure.
I thought that was just a really interesting way to phrase it. And I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Like if you think like psychologically of like, oh, people see McDonald's logo and they now associate like those colors with McDonald's, like that kind of stuff. We've known that, but it was just a different way to phrase it. And I thought it was very interesting.
No, that's a really cool way of putting it. It's a lot like softer and kinder. It's a very soft and a kind way of saying, hey, kind of look at what other people are doing and make it your own and then stick to it, you know? And yeah, I mean, look, that's branding 101 right there. And you made a great example of the golden arches, which thank you for that. Now I need fries. But stuff like that, it goes a long way. And then even when you're posting the video to transition into that last section, the meta, you know, it's using relevant hashtags if you can. It's using keyword rich descriptions. So which is something that I'm really bad at. Whenever I post something on social media that I need people to see, I'm usually like kind of this is my like little 2010s hipster in me speaking. I'm like a little disaffected and like, yeah, I did a thing, you know? I know I'm very Adam Driver and Girls minus the rage issues. But anyway, don't do that. Don't be me. Don't be Adam Driver and Girls minus the rage issues. Describe what you made, please. Talk about your guest. Hey, I did an episode of
Tag
my
them.
podcast. Yes, tag them. I did an episode of my podcast. The show is about X, Y, and Z. In this episode, we had such and such here to talk about this, that, and what. And it's really cool. We really hope you enjoy. Be descriptive.
Mhm.
Use those keywords because that's the stuff that algorithms look at, you know? Likewise, if you're on a platform that not even on a platform that supports like built-in transcription like YouTube or something, put captions on your videos, even just on the video itself. These little things, these are what algorithms look at, and this is what they base the recommendations off of. And if I can, this is a little cheat code I've been playing with. I don't know if it does anything, but it takes 3 minutes. And my rule of thumb is if it only takes 3 minutes, you do it anyway. When you post a video on YouTube and you use your Eddie captions that you can get for free from us, set it to English, but then also upload those captions 3 or 4 more times for the other variations of English. The Australian English, British
Huh,
English, Canadian English, Irish English. That's an
that's
option.
interesting.
Yeah. I can't say if it works or not, but I've been doing it since like February and it hasn't not worked yet, as far as I can tell.
Well,
So
there you go.
go nuts with your captions, accessibility, stuff like that. There's a lot that's been said about like posting often on social media. I think, I don't remember what the recommendation is. I think the recommendation is like 2 to 3 times a week. I'm not saying you have to do that, but I am saying that maybe post as often as you can realistically. And again, it's
Or even
all,
just engage. Like
yes,
even if you're not posting and you're just like, meh, I don't really have time to make content or something. I'm sorry, you're likely already on your phone and like scrolling anyways. Sorry. So just maybe especially if you have kind of two separate accounts, so you have like your personal one and your podcast one, maybe just flip to your podcast one and doom scroll that way. Like things, like comment back with that, it might just kind of help out. Not only will you kind of build relationships with the accounts that you're engaging with, but now it's like, hey, this is an active account. They're not just posting to post, like they're
yeah.
actually using the platform. And that's kind of like a check or a plus in the recommendation algorithms for those platforms specifically.
No, precisely. It's one of those things like, we look at like what we post on social media and we expect people to come to us when we post stuff, but the truth is that we have to go to other people too. That's how communities work. That's how communities have always worked back when we were like hunter gatherers. We had to like physically go to other groups of people and be like, I am not going to bonk you on the head with this rock. I am friend. And we have to do that now. We have to find content that is similar to our own, which the algorithm makes oh so easy. And we have to engage with it. Comment, make friends with these guys who post this other content. Give them the rock you promised not to bonk them with, if you will. And
Maybe a berry. I feel like giving the berry
rock.
might be a
No, the
better
rock,
rock.
Alyssa.
My bad.
Come
Sorry.
on. This is Hunter Gatherer 101. Um, I guess the berries are the gatherer side of things. But you know, we have to just like build those connections with other people because when they get recommended your content someday, or the people lurking in those comments get recommended your content someday, they'll be like, whoa, this is Nick's podcast. He gave me a rock once, and Alyssa took it away and gave me some berries instead.
Yep.
So it sounds silly and it sounds harebrained, but like the more you think about it, the more you're like, yeah, this is just like this makes sense.
I was
Podcasting
gonna
is
say,
communal. You
bad
know,
analogies aside.
amazing analogies. Come on.
Okay.
But yeah, whatever. The last thing I was gonna say, which is kind of in the spirit of that maybe, is if you're on multiple social media sites, the thing that I used to do is I used to just like post everything at once. It's like, okay, Monday is podcast clip time. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, whatever. It's all there. What I say to you is, why? No, spread it out. Like, let's say you have a podcast listener that follows you across every platform, which is awesome. Okay, you can either get all of your promo to them at one point in time on Monday morning, or you could hit them up on Twitter on Monday, post it to Instagram on Tuesday, TikTok Wednesday, etc. You're just giving them more reminders and you're using the same exact post. To me, that just sounds like working smarter instead of harder. If you can only make one clip a week, just get as much as you can out of it. On that note, that's all I had for today. This was my whole like spiel on promoting your podcast. There are a lot of different types of clips, you know, your banter clips, your current events related stuff, your other, which is just like an organic plug or original content. Make your videos as short as you can if you need to. Cut your videos down a little bit. Our tool Eddy is really helpful for that because you can actually go from editing on Eddy to Headliner to make your promo clip. Then you can just go back into Eddy and undo whatever, you know, truncations you made if you don't actually want them. And from there, just do what you can to help yourself in the meta. Post your transcripts. Use, you know, information-heavy descriptions. Give people a rock.
And I do want to jump in really quickly because obviously we talked about all these ways that you can make a clip and not actually like make clip. Here's how.
Yes,
So
the
we
very
said
important
earlier in
part.
that exactly. We said earlier in the episode we don't edit our podcast. I mean, we lightly do. We'll take out some of the uhs and the ums with Eddy. But I mean, for the most part, pretty much what we recorded, for better or for worse, you're hearing it straight from our mics to your ears.
I think they got that
So
from the whole like rock tirade. I'd like to update that. Maybe it's like being a penguin and pebbling somebody.
yeah, that's probably a better one to be
It's
quite honest with you.
I
But
kind of like the Neanderthal one, but that's just me.
anyways, how we actually make our clips is we take all of us. So we have automations going. So every time we release an episode of our podcast, Headliner's going to go ahead, make audiograms, post it to all the social medias for us, and add in all of those like keyword rich descriptions, all that stuff. But we also have a video version. So if you are watching us here on YouTube, we take this exact recording that you're seeing, take the little share link, drop it into Headliner, which if you're familiar with Headliner, there's a big orange button that says clip and caption. We take our YouTube URL, pop it in there, and then it recommends 10 different clips. So what's really cool is in the past, you've gotten the 10 clips and you're like, cool, download, share, but now you can edit them. Right there. So you're seeing like these weird pauses or these like weird rants. You're like, I really like the first 5 seconds and the last 5 seconds, but this like weird 20-second like rock thing, I don't really care for that. You can just take it as you would a Word doc, highlight it, delete it. And now it's stringing those two together. So now you have a really solid, I think I said 5 and 5, 10-second clip. We'll do that math, which, by the way, in my earlier fumble is 3%. I thought about it more. 1/30. It's 3%.
I'll take your word for it. Look, I'm a Neanderthal who likes rocks. I'm not doing math.
It really deeply bothered me that I was like, that is not even close. Like I carried a 0 where I shouldn't have. But anyways, you could take that weird clip that I just ranted about, just edit it out, and now you have that really solid 10-second clip. You've got the captions. You can make sure they're all pretty if you want to kind of manually do it, or you can let Headliner do it for you. Super styled, add in a watermark or what have you. And now look at that. It was like sharing all that was like probably legitimately 3 minutes of work because you had to like listen to it and be like, ooh. So really easy, super, super awesome way to share your clips and kind of better diversify your content. Like Nicholas said, download it, spread it out, get all the social captions. It's going to be relevant as we have that transcript and we're looking at it and we're like, okay, said this word 5 times. It's probably about this. We're going to write you a lovely little social media caption, add in some hashtags, post it. Super easy.
There you go. Yeah. Basically, to summarize, everything I discussed today can be done automagically with Headliner. I can't take credit for that. Oliver came up with that phrase like 6 years ago, but
that was my first impression of Headliner. And if you are not familiar with that video, I highly recommend going on Headliner's YouTube channel and typing automagically. And it's a beautiful, it's a little out of date, but it's beautiful.
It's a little out of date.
I highly recommend watching that video. And I want everybody to know that was the first impression of the company that I currently work for.
On that note, thank you to everyone for listening. We'll be back soon with more tips for promoting your podcast and hopefully less rock talk, apparently, because Big Rock doesn't want you to know about it or whatever. And yeah, thanks for listening. Bye.